Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work podcast. I'm Kayla, I'm your host. Today we're talking about the hidden costs of inconsistency at work. It's going to be a good episode for you. I'm not on the road anymore, so I'm in my home studio, which is wherever my mic is and wherever there's no one else with me, except today I do have a special guest. It's my dog, Raleigh. And you know when they go to lay down, but they have to like do that circle thing where they like circle around and around before, it's like the perfect spot. I've started this episode recording like 3 different times because she keeps moving. So Raleigh, I hope you're in the best spot right now. All right. So this episode is all going to be about it's going to be about consistency systems, and we're going to have a whole like episode arc of series, I guess I should say, on consistency systems. There's going to be like 6 episodes or so. We're going to have topics on the 80-20 rule of work systems. We're going to be talking about how to build a rhythm you can stick to even on your worst days. We're going to be talking about consistency without burnout. We're even going to be talking about chaos to consistency. And I'm hoping to bring on some real leaders, or at least have some real leader stories to talk through how they manage, to be more consistent. And we're going to be talking about long-term or long game in your career growth when it comes to consistency wins. So I hope you're excited about this series. It's really cool. I always like to have like series when we're heading into different seasons where we sort of gear up or like ease into a series or ease into a season. So I think consistency is a really good one as we sort of like end the year. So before we dive in, I do want to share a podcast review of the week. So let me grab this listener review. It's from Sammy235, and the title is Virtual Mentor for Healthcare Leaders. Here's what they say. I wish I would have had all of Kayla's advice, wisdom, and hacks on day one when I started an interim staff developer position. She gives digestible, realistic, and relevant advice regardless of what your healthcare specialty is. I recommend her to all my fellow nurse leaders and upcoming go-getters with potential for growth. It feels like she's in my brain sometimes, which is so validating as a nurse leader and serves as a wonderful mentor. Keep it up, Kayla. Or keep it coming, Kayla. Thank you so much, Sammy235. That really makes me feel good to hear that you're recommending it to others and that my advice has helped you. If you've been around for a while, you'll know that, of course, I'm a lab scientist, but my sister is a badass nurse, worked in the ICU, worked in the ED, same day surgery. She's done it all. And I think it's pretty cool. And I think you're badass too. I can never do your job. So I hope what I share helps you do your job even better. All right. So I really appreciate those reviews. I would love to have more each week. So feel free to leave me a rating or review, write something for me on Apple Podcasts, and I'll read it here. Actually having reviews like that helps the algorithm know like, hey, people like this show, and it helps it get seen more. So that's pretty cool. Something also cool about this podcast is when you search for Get Organized, I'm the 4th podcast in the list. So I am moving and grooving here. It's been a cool year. Thank you all so much for listening and letting me know that things are working. All right, so let's get down to the episode. Today, we're talking about something that silently drains leaders and teams every day: inconsistency. It's more than just being late to a meeting or skipping a to-do. Inconsistency erodes trust, wastes energy, and kills momentum. And so we're going to talk about some real examples of inconsistency at work, why it costs more than you think, and what you can do about it. And this isn't to make yourself feel shameful. It's actually to take a beat and say, okay, where am I being inconsistent? What does it mean? Can I evaluate that? And is there something I can do about it? And it's all meant to actually make it easier on yourself and on your teams. So it's not, we need to like go harder, go deeper. Like we have to get this consistent with what we have today. It's more of a reflection of, well, how could I flip the script? How could I pivot a little bit to make things work so that I can show up consistently, so that my team can be consistent. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I hope it gives you some inspiration, especially as, like I said, we lean into the end of the year and the beginning of the new year to think about things differently than you've thought about them before. So let's go into the first segment. Segment 1 is what inconsistency looks like at work. So inconsistency, when I think about it, is just like a lack of rhythm, right? It's you're not doing things at a cadence that's normal. It's unpredictable follow through, and perhaps the expectations keep shifting. And so here's a couple examples. Maybe it's a team that does a huddle sometimes, but then they sometimes cancel. And what happens is staff stop preparing and stop trusting that rhythm. They're like, well, I don't know, we might have the huddle, but we might not. Or maybe it's somebody who responds to emails right away some weeks, but then they disappear the next. And maybe you don't hear from them for a long time. Team members might start second guessing like when or even if they're going to get support. They might not trust that they're going to get a response to their email. Or perhaps it's a project plan that only gets updated, like a Kanban boards that we talk about, only after somebody's like, hey, what's the status of that project? So people don't really trust the project board anymore. So it's really a useless tool at this point. So I want to think about my own leadership and maybe help you relate to yours. I've seen when those daily huddles, like I mentioned, or when communication gaps widen quickly, or when problems that could have been 5 minutes balloon into major issues because of inconsistency. And it happens, right? Like we are all have good intentions. We're like, let's set up this awesome system. The project plan's going to run itself. Well, it does, but you still have to update it, right? Or, hey, like, I don't need to organize my email. We just talked about that last week on the podcast. I can search for things. Well, that's true, but you still want to have a dedicated rhythm that you can keep up with for responding and thinking about how much time do you actually need to respond. Or maybe those huddles, maybe they don't add a lot of value sometimes. So you're like, maybe people don't really care if we do them. When they actually do care, it's more or less that maybe we do need to fix what we're sharing so that they are meaningful. So that 100% of the time we're like, let's do the huddle, even if there's not a lot to share. So that's what inconsistency can look like, what it can feel like. Sometimes it can actually lead to imposter syndrome, like, oh, maybe I'm not doing a great job, like because I can't be consistent. So let's lean into segment 2 of this episode and talk about the hidden costs of inconsistency. So the first cost I was thinking of is just energy drain in general. Every restart that you have requires yourself to reorient to what you're doing. Like, okay, I haven't done this in a while. I need to figure this out. Or why are we doing this again? Or this was working then, but it's not really working now because it's been so long. This is basically like rebooting your brain. So think about every time you redecide where to track tasks, right? Sticky notes versus planner. You lose momentum. All of that takes extra time to create a brand new system for you to start again. The second thing I was thinking of as a hidden cost was lost trust. People can't predict your follow through, or maybe you don't even trust yourself to follow through anymore because you're like, I just know I can't do it. So, an example is if you only give feedback sometimes, your team doesn't know whether to expect coaching or silence, right? So, if you, or maybe you're like, yeah, I was going to follow through on that, but I have so much going on. I don't think I can do it. But other times you follow through. It's confusing to yourself and to people. Missed opportunities is another hidden cost. Inconsistency means data gets lost, lessons aren't tracked, maybe wins aren't celebrated. For example, inconsistent reporting, leaders can't see trends and miss improvement opportunities. And the fourth thing I was thinking of is career impact. Inconsistent people rarely get promoted because leaders equate consistency with reliability. How trustworthy are you? You can listen to my episode on how to get promoted by getting organized. I'll link it below. It's one of my most popular episodes. It's probably my top downloaded episode at this point. And it gives you really good advice for how to demonstrate your value and be organized in order to do that, right? You have to keep track of what you're doing and how you provide value. And then the fifth thing I was thinking of, like I mentioned before, just kind of puts you in imposter syndrome. Sometimes when we're not consistent or we're not able to do the things we do, all of a sudden we start thinking like, well, maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe I'm not able to do this the way I want to, therefore I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe this is just me. Maybe everyone else can do it. And so you start questioning your, why you're there, your purpose. And all these things, it may or may not be on you that you're inconsistent, or it might be because of your systems or what you're anticipating of yourself or expecting of yourself is too high. So let's break it down. Let's talk about the third segment of why consistency matters more than perfection. So consistency builds trust. Your team knows what to expect. You know what to expect from yourself. You can have an agreement with yourself. This is what I'm going to do. Consistency also creates predictability. Systems don't have to be perfect, but they have to be steady. They have to be happening. They sort of go in a cyclical cycle fashion. Something I've shared in previous episodes is showing up your best every day. And sometimes your best equals 5 out of 10. Sometimes your best is 10 out of 10. So if you need to communicate something, if you need to update a process, or you need to show up for someone, showing up consistently, even at a 5 out of 10, is more valuable than perfect bursts followed by silence. It's way better to just show up consistently, be transparent with people rather than like doing something super amazing one day and then falling off the face of a cliff. People are like, where are they? So, for example, maybe we're sending out a weekly update email every Friday at 9 a.m. Even if 1 week's is shorter, it still builds trust. Even if you're like, I don't really have anything to share, just putting a line in, no new updates for you this week, team. Have a great weekend. It builds trust. So just following through and sort of walking the walk and talking the talk. Now, I know some of you are perfectionists or consider yourself type A, which makes sense. You're in a leadership position or you're a professional who wants to be organized. And I get that. And I think for me too, sometimes I do want to be, more polished and professional. And here's the thing. Let me just give you an example of one of the things that I know that I'm not perfect at and I'm flawed at. So I always tell people I'm a terrible speller. And one of the things that is good, I guess, is that my brain works pretty fast. And when I'm typing, often my brain is faster than my fingers. And so I might make some grammatical errors or typos. And I do think that typos and things like that can discredit your ability to convey a message clearly. It can show that maybe you are hasty or you haven't proofread. It can show that maybe you haven't taken the time to fully think something through, right? Like it could be viewed as bad. But here's how I view it. Oftentimes I'll read something multiple times, proofread it. I don't see it. I'll ask people to read it for me if it's super important. They're going to miss something, right? Like it happens. And so in those moments, I just give myself grace and I'm like, you know what? This message had to get out. It's better that it went out with a typo. And if that person's going to email me back saying you've got a typo, I'll just graciously say, thank you for catching that. Right. And so sometimes I try really hard and I still have a typo and it's, embarrassing, but it is what it is. At least it's done, especially if it's something that's been on my list for a long time. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. Like it happens. People probably don't even notice half the time because their eyes fix it. And if they do notice, hopefully I do enough to build enough credibility that it's not harmful, but also at the same time, I'm aware of it and I'll do my best to like fix that, right? Nobody is perfect, but getting the message out is way better than perfectionism and me not sending the email for fear of having some sort of typo, even no matter how much I check. All right. Segment number 4 is how to spot and fix inconsistency. So here's what we're going to do. This is the fun part, and this is the part that I think is empowering. And again, like I said before, this part is not about blaming ourselves, shaming ourselves, being like, oh, we're not good enough. We didn't show up the way we wanted to. This part is actually about freedom. This part is actually about how can we notice our inconsistencies and how can we make changes to make it easier for ourselves? So what I want you to do is number 1, I want you to audit yourself. This isn't like a serious, crazy audit. This is just a pause and notice type of thing throughout the next week. Where do you start strong and then just fizzle out? Is it taking action on meeting action items? Is it notes? Is it following up? Is it communication? Is it feedback? Like, where are you like man, I'm going to rock at this. I got this. And like for the first couple of days, weeks, you're like, boom, 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 I got it. And then you fizzle out. What is that? And then what I want you to do once you've noticed is I want you to choose one rhythm. And I want it to like think about it like our examples before. Is it your daily huddle? Is it your weekly report? Is it your project board update? Whatever is the thing that you're like, oh, I'm fizzling out. I want you to choose one thing. And I want you to think about what is your minimum viable consistency? So your MVC. Keep it short, keep it simple, and keep it doable, right? So let's use the huddle example, a daily huddle. Maybe it's not consistent right now. Here's your example. A 5-minute stand-up huddle is better than a 20-minute one that keeps getting skipped. A 5-minute stand-up is better than a 20-minute one that keeps getting skipped. So what is it the thing that you're fizzling out on? I want you to pick one of those things. There might be a few. I want you to create your minimum viable consistency. Keep it short, simple, and doable. Let me give you an example from this podcast. I've shared before that I always felt like weekly was a challenging goal. But then once I started doing it, I was like, I'm going to add more episodes. And then I was like, no, because I actually can't do that consistently. And that would actually be fine if I was cool with it, but I'm just not. And weekly is already like my minimum viable consistency. It's already what I can do, and I can do it really well if I don't try to make a bunch more episodes. So I'm just going to do one episode a week, and I can do that, and I can show up for an entire year doing that. I believe in myself, and I've made that commitment. So the next thing you can do to help you with this MVC is anchor it. Anchor this new habit, this new rhythm. So tie this new habit to something you already do, right? So we always talk about like how it's so automatic that you brush your teeth. And I've shared the example before when I was like, oh, I really want to keep my bathroom vanity clean. Well, I'll just keep wipes in my vanity. And then when I'm brushing my teeth, that's when I wipe down the sink, right? Like those two habits go together. And then I'll always have my teeth brushed and I'll always have a clean vanity, right? The vanity is not clean right now. That is not something I'm currently doing, but you get my drift, right? So it could be update your planner with your morning coffee at your desk. Update your planner right after the morning huddle. Or maybe something I want to be better at is looking at my emails about patient safety events. I get a bunch of emails from different areas. And most days I go into the folder where I have the rule where they go and I look at them. Some days the day gets away with me and I don't see them right away and I forget to get to it or I never get to it. So one thing I could do maybe is as I'm having my morning huddle, just pull that email up and skim it. It's not that long. It wouldn't take me that long. So number one, audit yourself. Number two, choose that one thing that you're fizzling out on that you want to take action on. Number three, make a minimum viable consistency or an MVC. Keep it short, simple, and doable. And then anchor that habit to something you already do. All right, just to recap, inconsistency drains energy. It breaks trust. It stalls your career. But small, steady systems create big, big wins. So I want you to do your consistency audit this week. Where are you inconsistent and what's it costing you? And I would love for you to share it in my Get Organized at Work free podcast community. It's awesome. I just reorganized it so you get updates for new episodes and new YouTube tutorials. Plus, if you're inside the course or inside the community, you get access to my Get Organized at Work Blueprint course at a discounted members rate, as well as you get access to more podcast episodes if you're interested in that. All right. Next week's episode, we'll be diving into the 80-20 of work systems and how to figure out what really matters and how to stop wasting time on the wrong things. I would love it, as I said before, if you would leave me a rating and review. Let me know how this has helped. Join the Get Organized at Work podcast community and let me know what the one thing you're inconsistent on that you're working on this week. And I will see you on the inside. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk soon. Bye.